You're the assistant ranking Republican on the House Public Safety Committee. That committee is voting on controversial legislation that could make it easier for law enforcement officers to be prosecuted if they use deadly force. You plan to vote against that bill. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Over this past interim, leading up to this legislative session, I participated in a deadly use of force and community policing task force. And I supported the legislation that created that task force just so I could be a part of the conversation, a part of hopefully bringing law enforcement officers and our people out there in those communities together in conversation to try to get to the bottom of some of these issues and address these issues. And what I found as we went through these task force meetings is the fact that there's a lot of folks out there in our communities that I don't really believe are interested in truly solving the problem. They just want to put law enforcement officers in jail for having to make that incredibly difficult decision to have to take a life. And that's not something I'm really interested in doing. I'm looking to bring community and law enforcement officers together, not place a bigger wedge in there. So this particular bill, House Bill 1529, is a bill that I believe does put a wedge between law enforcement officers and the communities that we're there to serve in the first place. And under current law, a law enforcement officer cannot be charged with a crime if if that officer has to take deadly force or use deadly force if he does so without malice and with good faith. And what this bill would do would remove the word malice from the statute and redefine good faith. So at this point, I am not willing to take malice out of that equation. That's a significant protection for our law enforcement officers who are encouraged or required really to run towards the fight, run towards the problem. Normal people out there in our society, we're expected to avoid those situations. Law enforcement officers have to be forced into those situations and make split-second decisions. And I admit that sometimes horrible mistakes are made, but they are indeed mistakes. And to expect a law enforcement officer to be charged with a crime in that situation, I really think is unreasonable when we ask them to put themselves in those situations. Now, there are good parts of this bill that I wish that we could retain, but at this point it doesn't look like the sponsor and the majority party here in the House are willing to fix that issue.
The House Transportation Committee has taken action this week on legislation that would reform the laws regarding distracted driving. Now, you're the sponsor of one of those two bills. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So we had two different bills in the House Transportation Committee this year regarding distracted driving. Representative Farrell's bill is a very well-intentioned bill that would focus specifically on the use of electronic devices while you're driving. Under current law, you can hold a phone to your ear, or you cannot hold a phone to your ear, but you can hold it out in front of you, like so. But the current statute currently says that you cannot text. So she's trying to fix the development of new technologies and basically say that the only time that you can use a cell phone in your car while you're driving is in hands-free mode, and you can't use an electronic device for any other purpose. You can't operate any other electronic device other than to just simply activate it. My bill, on the other hand, would look at distracted driving broadly. And so what I mean by that, my bill would create a new traffic infraction of distracted driving, and it would be a secondary offense that is meant to make it so law enforcement officers would be able to stop you for demonstrating the effects of distracted driving. So if you commit another traffic infraction, you cross the center line, you cross the fog line, or commit any other violation of a rule of the road, you would potentially be stopped by a law enforcement officer, and during the interview, when the law enforcement officer comes to contact the driver, he would make an inquiry and figure out what was causing that behavior. If the officer determines that you were dangerously distracted, per my bill, you could be cited for distracted driving. So like I say, it's a secondary offense. It doesn't lower the discretion that the law enforcement officers has, and it utilizes the existing statutes that we already have in law, those rules of the road. and really kind of capitalizes on them. I think that that my policy is the best policy to fully address the broad aspect of distracted driving and not specifically one aspect, which statistics have shown is a lower percentage of overall distracted driving.
If people want more information about legislation, what should they do?
So please contact me. I really enjoy hearing from my constituents and folks about this type of legislation. Sometimes it's controversial. So my email address and the website show up here at the bottom of the screen. Please contact me. Call the hotline. Call my desk. There's many different ways to contact us, or just check the legislative website.